Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Tangled Rights. I am one of your hosts, Justin W. Wilson, along with my co-host, Shane D. Cox.
Shane D. Cox.
D. The D stands for Daniel.
I thought it was Derek.
Is it
It's whatever you want it to be.
Darwin?
Shane Defense Lawyer Cox.
It's definitely not that. That would be me. Anyway, we have a guest with us today.
How's it
Another
going?
one.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Just happy to be here. So you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Paul Kregenbrink. I am a friend of Shane's, a new friend. We've only known each other maybe
A year.
like half a year, maybe.
Nah, a year.
Oh, yeah. I'm new to the area, so Shane was my.
Where'd you move from?
I moved from Orange County, California.
That's in Southern California,
It
correct?
is Southern California.
That's is it pretty populated there?
Very populated. It's. Have you been?
A couple of times.
Oh, okay, so you know that the traffic's awful. The food's
Yeah.
great.
Culture vibrant.
Vibrant, very vibrant. I gotta say, Las Vegas does not have very good Mexican food compared to the OC. I've heard.
Have you been on East Lake Mead Boulevard, bro?
I stay away from that area.
Have you been
Okay,
to Roberts?
Well, then
Roberts? Oh,
Oh,
my gosh.
Roberts
I
is
heard you
delightful.
talking about that. No.
Yes. So
No.
anyway, I challenge you to go to East Lake Mead in Washington. There's a couple of food trucks over there. Primo.
All right.
Sorry, I jumped the gun a little bit. We need to send a shout out. Carrie Maxey for Judge, getting us these glorious mugs. Everybody gets one. He's got one temporarily.
I'm keeping this.
Shane, yours, you got one.
Don't represent yourself.
Mine is my catchphrase, don't talk to cops. And we even have one for our esteemed producer who's going to get on camera right now because I told him to. What do we got? Oh,
The producer.
he produces things.
The producer.
The producer.
Well,
Austin.
according to the fans.
Cheers, bro.
The trolls have gotten after you.
Well, yeah, there's one comment.
Hey, I just had my first personal attack by a
What
troll.
was that?
Oh, he was talking about my hairline. He said like let it go or something like
Dude,
that.
I did it. I let mine go.
You guys are so lucky. I haven't had mine yet. My first attack.
Oh, your first
Oh.
attack? Take your hat off.
We'll get there.
You need more
No,
subs.
no, take your hat off real quick. I'm sure somebody will make fun of you. They'll say something about like, I
just
don't
got
know.
this done.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. And they're gonna be like, "Where's your puka shell necklace?" 2003 called, or some BS like that.
See, you guys have never been called a jar of mayonnaise like I have on my show. Dude called me a jar of mayonnaise because I said the Appalachian region is arguably a poorer region in the United
Yeah,
States.
that
Air
was
cooler,
my my secret account. Sorry,
Okay,
Paul. Yeah.
So
tell
thank
us
you,
about
Carrie.
your page.
appreciate you.
My page?
Yeah,
My what page?
your YouTube page.
I do have a YouTube page. I mostly do family vlogs. Me and my wife and my son. We vlog on Saturdays. Back in the day, maybe like 9 years ago, I figured out that I like putting videos together, and then I ran out of like random videos on my computer. So I was like, you know what? I'll just film some random stuff and then put it together at the end of the day. And then eventually it rolled into vlogs, like, like Roman Atwood, Casey Neistat style type things. Just whatever
So-
we did that day, we'll film and edit and put it
Not
together.
being smart here, but vlog is just like a video blog, right?
That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
And they're short. They're not long. Like
It's short form, not like TikToks, but not like podcasts. So, it's
So you're talking
right in
like
the
20
middle.
minutes?
Yeah, just sit down while you're eating your nachos you microwaved and put it on. When you're done with your nachos, the video's over.
very specific.
Okay. Do
Thing
you
to
always
do.
do you eat nachos in every video?
No.
When
But-
you're watching, you'll be eating the
Yeah,
nachos.
like- It's something to
I
watch.
thought you meant you video.
Instead of reading the back of the cereal box, watch the
Understood.
vlog. Yeah.
Good. Got it.
But his
got it.
production is awesome. His effects are cool. He does cool stuff with drones.
Do you have a name for it? Like, how would I search
It's
it?
just my name, Paul Kregenbrink, or Paul Craw. That's Kra. You could also type in Polyvlog. That's my creative name for the vlogs. So,
We'll tag it in the bottom of this because I don't know how to spell any of that.
sure.
All right. So you are a law-abiding citizen.
For the most part, I'd like to pretend I am.
Okay.
No, I am. I am.
Paul's here to talk about a run-in because we want a different view, and Paul had a different view of the law.
I am Tangled Rights' first criminal.
Not true.
That's false. I've been on here since the beginning. So let's go background. Do you have a juvenile record?
Not at all. I had a few run-ins with cops. So I grew up in Colorado originally, in a very small town called Central City.
Is it in the center?
Yeah, actually.
Weird.
Yeah, crazy. And me and my brother would go skateboarding all the time. And cops in that city hated skateboarding, specifically me and my brother, because we were the only skateboarders there. So one night I snuck out, and the cops like caught us, and they're like, "Did you guys sneak out?" And we're like, "Yeah." It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and they're like, "Well, just sneak back in." So that was really the only run-in with the cop I had as a youth. So,
Okay, so the point I'm making with these questions is I'm leading up to the fact that you're not somebody who's had possession of stolen vehicle, possession of controlled substance, any of those sorts of things. You're your typical teenager doing teenager stuff, but nothing serious.
exactly.
I mean, you probably sucked real bad at ollies, and that's what the cops were mad about.
It was the kickflip.
Oh, it wasn't.
I could heel flip.
the varial heel flip. You could do that.
No, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Inward heel flip.
Inward heel flip. Sorry, my bad.
Rookie.
Street or vert?
Like mini ramps. So vert, I guess. It's fun.
Dude, every time I did that, I hit my head. I had to stay street because I was going to get concussed to death. Okay, so none of that. And then as a youth, post-juvenile, no real issues?
No, none. Well, I don't want to say none. Do we want to get into the bread and butter, or do you want to keep leading up? I had a few traffic stops.
Okay, but nothing major up to leading up.
No,
Okay, all right. So
no misdemeanor, felony, just traffic.
just traffic. One infraction, as Shane was able to look out.
I did look up Paul to look up what we're going to talk about, and there was one traffic ticket in Orange
I
County.
totally forgot about it. I think it was a
Did you
broken
pay it?
taillight. Yeah.
oh, I figured it
It
was,
was, it was a fixed ticket.
No,
How funny would it be if it was in a warrant? Like he never bothered to pay it.
No,
oh, by the way, we have a
it
wanted
was-
guy on our.
It was like 11
our
years ago,
podcast.
too. I was like, oh.
Here he is. We got him. So the point of that is, a lot of people find themselves in situations they wouldn't expect them to be themselves to be in, and it's kind of like what I talked about earlier about how somebody you might find on the worst day of their life. They could be just like Paul, got tangled up in something, and so that's sort of the point I was trying to make. Yeah, tangled rights. Yeah, I know I did that on purpose. Nice. So that was sort of the point I was trying to make with that background is that until this incident that we're about to talk about, you'd never really had any major run-ins with the law.
No.
All of it was standard, normal stuff.
Yep. And I was always raised like respect law enforcement, respect, love your country, love your elders, like respect all of that. So this incident kind of like really shook me because it had been the very first time where I was like in trouble. I didn't like getting in trouble with my parents. I didn't like getting in trouble with my teachers. I had one detention my whole high school, middle school career. And that was it. I'm good at getting away with stuff. Not to say that I didn't do things. I just never got caught. I almost set fire to a mine tailing once because my
Why would you how do you set fire to a mine tailing?
just playing with fireworks, playing with fire.
What was in the mine tailing that was flammable?
Wood.
Oh yeah, the timbers and stuff. Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
But
Fair enough.
if you get away with it, nothing happened.
Yeah.
And you were a teenager at that time, I'm guessing.
Yes,
in
yes.
Colorado.
If a
Yeah.
felony is committed in Colorado and no one's around to watch it, was it really committed? No. Okay, so let's talk about what happened.
Okay.
Fast
so
forward. How old are we? at
This was
point?
2015, a year after I got married.
So
I was 25.
we're fully grown men at this point.
Fully grown
So-
man. And do you like lasers, Paul?
I love. Yes, I watched a YouTube video where this vlogger had a laser, specifically a green one, and I was like, "That is cool."
The green ones are the hyper powerful ones.
They're
You can
pretty
like
powerful,
burn
like-
stuff with it, right?
Mine didn't, but you could see it. You didn't need like particles in the air to like refract the light or anything, but you could see it. Like if I pointed it on the wall, you'd see the whole stream. So it was a pretty powerful laser. So I bought one on eBay, and it came to my house, and I would just play with it. I would do like light painting stuff with my GoPro, and then one night we go to my sister's house. She lived in Fullerton, California, and on the way home, I'm playing around with it like while I'm driving and just shining at stuff, and I see this drone. I was like, "Oh, there's a drone in the air!" So I take my laser and I shine it up at the drone, and I don't think anything of it. I go down the freeway. I get off at my exit.
Can I ask
My
a
wife-
couple follow-up questions?
Yes,
real quick?
sir.
How
Feel
long,
free to.
How long was it on the drone?
I would say like 5 seconds. I didn't.
So just a quick.
It was the
Oh, I hit it, and then we're
that
done.
hit it. Done with it.
Sure.
Wasn't meant to mess with it. Like, obviously I meant to mess with it, but that was about
Sure.
it. Like,
You thought
I
it
got
was a
bored with
drone
it.
and you were just pointing it at it. You
What,
weren't trying
what
to
was
hurt
your point? Were you just trying to see if you could like point it out, like get it on there?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, see if I could
Okay.
see it.
it. All right. So you continue on, and then what?
And then I get these red and blue lights behind me, and my wife's like, "What's that?" I was like, "I don't know." Just pull over. It's like, maybe you saw the laser pointing it outside. I was like, "That's fine." And I waved to the cop to like follow me into this residential because like I'm on a street that's got a lot of traffic. So I was like, I waved to him. I was like, all right, let's go over here. And he's like, "You been playing with the laser tonight?" I was like, "I mean, I have one." He's like, "All right, step out of the car." I was like, "Okay, sure." Don't talk to cops. They take my wife. Another officer takes my wife, and we get separated. He checks my license, checks registration, checks all the insurance and stuff. And he's like, "Are you aware that you were pointing a laser at a police helicopter?" I was like, "No, not at all." He's like, "Did you mean to do that?" I was like, "No, I thought it was a drone." And they're like, "Okay, well, come have a seat right here on the curb." And they search the vehicle, they find the laser, and they confiscate it. I didn't hide it or anything.
Did they ask for permission to search the vehicle?
Are you gonna grill me for like doing things wrong?
No,
like
I'm,
what
no,
not to do?
no,
I'm curious.
We're curious what the cops did and if they.
I think they said, "Hey, we're gonna search your vehicle." I was like, "All right, fine," because at this point I had no idea that I did anything wrong, until the cop that took me aside, put my hands behind my back, cuffed me, and said, "Hey, you have the right to remain silent. You have,
Anything you say
These
can
things
and will.
be used against you in a court of law.
Yep." So I was like,
Yeah, the
"These are
right
my
to
Miranda rights. Like, am I being arrested?" And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'm going to jail?" They're like, "Well, we're gonna take you in." I'm like, "What?" And my wife is hysterical. She is crying. She's like, I'm trying to hold it together. I'm like, "All right, it's okay. Just like
She married
figure
a
this
criminal.
I know.
A hardcore criminal.
And so they put me in the back of the squad car, and my wife is still crying. And I'm like, "Can I like roll down the window to talk to my wife or something?" And they're like, "No, you can't." I was like, "Well, look at her. She's like crying over there." And they didn't let me. They just asked me some questions. And on the way to the police station, so they take me away. They let my wife go, and I think at that point she like called her parents or called my sister or something. And so they let me go. No, I'm sorry. They didn't let me go at all. They took me to the station, and they're like asking me questions. They're like, "Hey, you didn't know that was a helicopter?" I was like, "No, not at all." I was like, "If you did know that was a helicopter, would you have done it?" I was like, "No way. Like, I'm never intended to like harm someone." So they explained what happens when you shine a laser at an aircraft. Like, it'll hit the windshield and it'll spider web, and they can't see. And the way they can see it is like I said, you can see the stream. So they just followed it back to this little white car and said, "PD, this is who you need to go get." They shined a laser at me. So they took me in.
Did the helicopter follow you?
It must have, because the cops found me.
Was
How-
it dark out or light out at the
It
time?
was like 9 o'clock at night. So it
How
was dark.
long between the time you shined the laser at the car or the helicopter and you got pulled over?
About 15 minutes.
Wow.
That's
15
an
minutes.
expensive,
They were following you
an
then.
expensive thing for them to do, to follow a guy with
Yeah.
a laser pointer. Good job, Orange County. Way
Yeah,
to
seriously.
properly allocate your funds.
Did they make you sign something waiving your rights? Miranda rights?
I don't think so.
When they gave you the card, they didn't have you sign an acknowledgement that they Mirandized you.
Not
Some
that
places do.
I
Some
don't
places
remember.
don't.
Okay. Yeah, and that's
Anyway.
jurisdiction dependent. Okay.
Sure. So you get there. They tell you this. They tell you about the spider web. What happens next?
We get there, and then the cops, they were kind of cool, because I was like being cool with them. I didn't have any reason to be mad. I was just like a little upset that I was going to jail or prison or whatever. And so they took the laser pointer, like pointing out in the fucking night, like, "Dang, this thing's actually pretty cool." I was like, "You guys are being jerks right now." Like, yeah, I said that in my head, but like I was just quiet.
Yeah, it is cool, Officer Barb Brady.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we go inside, they search me, and they take my little shot. They do my fingerprints, and they're like, "Bail's $20,000." And I'm like,
What?
$20,000? I can't pay that. Like, what am I gonna do? And like, "You probably should post bail and I didn't know what any of this meant. I was like, you should probably post bail tonight because it's Memorial Day weekend, and you'll probably be transferred to county if you don't get out tonight. I'm like, I have no control over this. I have no idea what bail is. I have no idea why I'm here. I had no idea that that was a freaking helicopter. So I'm just freaking out. I call my wife. She's like, I think we're going to post bail. I don't know what to do. My dad's helping me. I was like, all right. So I got a bail bondsman, and I was out at like 5 a.m. They gave me like a little bed. They put me in like one of the cells, like I guess the drunk tanks or whatever. And I just slept a little bit. And
$20,000 bail
So
for
it was-
shining a laser pointer.
so
What
it
the
ended up being $2,000. So
Yeah,
it's-
sure, because you pay 10%, but it doesn't matter. 20 grand? Jeez.
yeah,
So
Okay,
there,
what were you
there
charged
was a
with?
crime that you were charged with, right?
it was a crime. It was a felony. I don't know. I'll leave it up to you to read the actual.
Right. So we looked this up, and Paul owes me $1.50 for searching this because Orange County charges you to look up cases. So
Or you could have just Googled it and it would have been real easy. And you could find it on codes.findlaw.com. Which is
no,
what I
the
did.
case, and what he was charged
Oh,
with.
oh.
You found the case.
Specifically, I
Okay.
found his case. California Penal Code 247.5. Discharge of a laser at an aircraft. Which
Occupied aircraft or just aircraft?
Yes. So the first two elements, aside from the mens rea, which I'll talk about in a second, is aircraft, whether in motion or in flight, while occupied.
Oh, okay.
So helicopter while being flown, it's an aircraft in flight while occupied, presumably.
and
then-
obviously with all of these laws there is some government intent, right? They're protecting something or trying to protect something.
Correct.
Because if somebody's shining a laser at somebody trying to land a plane, that could be dangerous for a lot of people inside a plane.
Or if they're trying to bring the plane down, like if someone's flying a helicopter and they're trying to get in their way to where they can't fly it through the buildings the way that they need to or whatever, like a news helicopter or police helicopter in this instance, that's what they're trying to prevent. I would presume. I've obviously not read any California cases on this where they did some interpretation, and I also haven't read the legislative intent. But one part that's really important, when I said mens rea before, that's a fancy legal term that just means guilty mind. And the idea with a mens rea is that you have an element of your intention. And the statute says a person who willfully and maliciously discharges a laser at an aircraft. Malicious is defined in California Penal Code Section 7, subsection 4. The words malice and maliciously import a wish to vex, annoy, or injure another person or an intent to do a wrongful act established either by proof or presumption of law.
Justin, do all crimes have a mens rea element?
They do not. Certain crimes are called what we refer to as strict liability. What that means is there is no intent. If you did it, you're guilty. The classic example is statutory rape, right? If you are above the age prescribed by the legislature and the victim is below the age, it doesn't matter if it was consensual. It doesn't matter anything. That is a classic example of a strict liability crime. And the case that you look at in law school during criminal law is actually awful. Well, most of the criminal law cases are awful, but the example they give is a person who was intellectually disabled is deceived by these kids.
Lied to. They can have fake IDs.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
The thing that my professor said in law school is you could be at a bar that's checking IDs with a girl and her mom and the Pope, and they could all tell you she's 21. But if she's 14, you did it.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's no intent element. Whereas other crimes require, like this one, willful and malicious. An example of something not being willful, you're walking along, your laser's in your backpack, and it goes off because something pushes the button. You didn't do it. Let's say it shines up and hits that same helicopter, and you keep doodling along, and the cops come, and let's say for argument's sake, there's like some third-person omniscient way that they're able to tell exactly what happened, and they'll say, oh, well, he didn't do this. It would just happen in his backpack. Be more careful. You know, you can't be in violation of this because you didn't willfully do anything.
Right.
It happened in your backpack. So the next question that I have,
But it also wasn't malicious.
that's where I was going with this. I was like, okay, so what happened? How did they charge you with a felony whenever you explained to them that you weren't doing it on purpose?
I think.
Because they trusted him.
Well, I
Well,
think
that
they
doesn't
don't.
matter. That's the evidence.
I don't.
You-
I don't think they believed me that I thought it was a drone
Okay.
because, like, and I've got a lot of questions about this. Like, how'd you mix up a helicopter with a drone? So if you imagine for a moment that their depth perception is off at night, You look up at the sky, and there's a green and a red light, and it's right there. Now, as a drone, as a pilot, I can look up at that and be like, I don't know how far away that is. So that's what happened. I shined it at, but it was way further than I looked that it was.
Sure.
So it ended up being a helicopter. So I don't think the police thought I was telling the truth. And so when we get into the lawyer stuff, like I had to explain to him that. Should I go into that?
Well, first I want to identify one thing about the statute 247.5. This statute is what we call a wobbler in the state of Nevada. Wobbler means that it has a misdemeanor side to it and a felony side to it. Typically, the court gets to decide the treatment here. When we do negotiations on a case, and let's say we take a possession of a stolen vehicle and we plead it to an attempt, the attempt possession of a stolen vehicle is a wobbler, and you'll either stipulate to gross misdemeanor treatment, or you will stipulate to felony treatment, or it'll be no recommendation on the part of the prosecution, and the defense gets to argue about it. How did they give you any indication why they decided to charge you with a felony? Because it's just a wobbler in and of itself. It's one or the other.
Well, you said it's a wobbler in Nevada, right?
Well, it's a wobbler in California.
We call them wobblers.
We call them
here.
wobblers here because they can go either direction. It's like a teeter-totter.
I'm not sure because they wanted to make an example out of me, maybe. Because I would
prevent all the other laser pointers
I
from
guess.
shooting them at helicopter.
I'm not sure why they did a felony because when I got my attorney, he said this could either go one way or the other. Let's hope it goes to a misdemeanor instead of a felony. A few months later, he calls me up. He was like, "Yeah, they're charging you with a felony," and that sucked. So
I would
That's
imagine.
insane.
Whatever. Okay, so you get charged with a felony. What happens next?
Post bail, go home. I find an attorney.
How'd you pick your attorney?
This was a recommendation from my brother-in-law's father.
Had he also pointed a laser at something he shouldn't have?
No, I think he just knew him. Not very well, I guess, because I don't know. I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't know what a bondsman was, so I didn't know how to get an attorney. So I was lucky that someone recommended this guy. I can plug him if you want. You want me to tell him his name? His name was Brian Gerwitz. He's from Orange County. He was a great guy.
Did he do a good job?
He did a great job, in my opinion. So I paid him, and he's like, this could go either way. And he said straight up, he's like, I believe you. I believe your story. I believe that was what you thought was a drone was a drone. And let me remember.
I thought he was getting emotional.
No.
My wife was crying.
9 years ago. So anyway.
You've committed a lot of crimes that haven't been charged since then, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard to remember this one.
Hard to narrow it down. Anyway, so he's like, let's go to your initial arraignment. I don't know. And
Initial arraignment is when you plead not guilty or guilty.
Okay, so we went to court, my first court date, and my lawyer says, hey, we don't have the evidence that we want. Let's push it back. I think what he wanted is like footage from the cop of me saying it was a drone. And he also wanted footage of my wife saying it was a drone because we were separated. So if our stories were
the same,
same,
it gives some
would have been better.
credibility. Yeah.
So a few months later, we go back to another court date. They still don't have the footage. A few months later, so I got arrested in September, and I didn't get out, like the whole thing done with, until about May. So it took a long time. So I would go, say, here, we're going to keep going. We're going to push this off another few months. Go.
And that was all because the prosecution, or presumably the state, didn't provide your lawyer with the evidence that he needed, right?
Correct.
So in other words, sometimes things can take a while, and it's not the fault of the defense attorney, right?
You're talking to a very specific subset of people
I'm
who aren't
talking
going
to
to be
some people
watching
who
this.
like to say things, and it's like that's the defense can't control everything, right?
No, yeah, absolutely not. And like I was at the mercy of
The state.
the state. Yeah. So eventually my lawyer's like, we're not going to get it. Or actually, he got it. And then he didn't hear anything from Kelly. She didn't say either way. Kelly, my wife. So, nor good, not bad nor good. So what he did is he went up to he talked to the judge, talked to someone, I don't know who they talked to, prosecutor, and say, this dude is a 25-year-old dorky Mormon kid. Like, he's never done anything bad in his life. It's like, all right. So what the deal was you plead guilty, they'll knock it down to a misdemeanor, and you get 3 years unsupervised probation. I'm like, done. I don't have any jail time. Like, I'll take it. So that's what happened. I paid my court fees. I had to donate like $25 to the criminal
Justice system.
Defense
probably
fund or something like that.
something. And then they sent me on my way. 3 years unsupervised probation. And then
For a
it was-
misdemeanor.
For a misdemeanor. Mm-hmm.
That is wild.
3 years on a misdemeanor too.
Unsupervised though.
I don't care.
That's a
Okay.
long time.
That's
If-
insane.
I would have rather taken. I would have taken community service if I didn't have to step foot in jail.
Why?
Because like I was newly married. I was married 1 year, and I got arrested. I can't. I felt like an obligation to like take care of my wife. We moved out of my first apartment and we moved in with her parents during this whole time because I was so afraid that if I got sent to jail,
Right. She
something would
wouldn't
happen
go
to
there.
her.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. So I guess the first question is this experience, did it change how you behave at all?
Yes, I am very much more conscious of my actions. I love to fly drones. I know where I'm going. I look up the laws of where I'm going. When I go skateboarding, I make sure like I'm not doing anything wrong. When I play with fireworks, I make sure that no
Which
one's
you're
gonna
not,
get hurt.
he's not doing in Clark County, obviously.
Obviously, just the stuff that stays on the ground. Anyway, like every little decision I make, I think of the consequences that could come from it. So it's
Even something as simple as pointing a laser for 5 seconds.
yeah, exactly. And I haven't since touched a laser. I think that was part of like what they said. They're like, you can't touch it. Do not touch a laser. Try not even get pulled over in those 3 years. And I haven't. I didn't.
So
Did you
when
get your
the
laser back?
No.
when the case is over, you can do whatever you want. You can get lasers now.
Well, you can't get arrested again. It's usually a stay out of trouble.
Right, but it's been
For
more
those
than 3
3
years.
now-
The case is closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get in trouble all you want. The only thing it's going to do is whenever you get your pretrial risk assessment, which is a sheet that people get, at least if they're arrested here, and it says like your criminal history. It doesn't even actually list the misdemeanors. It just has a section that says misdemeanors, and it's either 0 or a number. In your case, it'd be 1. In my case, it'd be 4. Shane's case,
0.
0. 0? Look,
Dang.
not even the worst
Second
criminal
place.
in the room. Nice.
Just like I have more kids than all of you combined, Justin
Correct.
has more crimes than all the rest of us combined.
Yep. I've spent more hours in jail than all of you combined.
Wow.
It wasn't awesome.
Not
but
not
like,
just for visiting either.
No.
We visit jails quite a bit, but
No, it's
So after you got arrested the first time, you didn't want to like behave after that?
no.
You weren't scared straight, as they say?
No.
I was.
I don't care. Whatever. I mean, I definitely think so my first one was a DUI. I blew a .09.
Cool.
I legitimately thought I was good. It's one of those situations where, you know, I drove after a birthday party and I waited, ate food, drank water, and then finally I'm like, man, it's getting late. I want to go home. I didn't get pulled over for anything weird. The car I was driving at the time was really crappy because, you know, in college you're poor. I was driving a 1999 Saturn SW2 station wagon. Yeah. And the alignment was trash in it and it pulled to the left. And my passenger screwed with the radio, and I was like, no, I was listening to that song. So I looked down just long enough to go like this, and it pulled to the left, and it touched the yellow line. And I just so happened the self-proclaimed DUI king of Montgomery County, Kansas, was behind me. And we were getting ready to head back into Chautauqua County, and it was late at night, and there wasn't anybody else on the road, so he pulled me over in .09.
It's the perfect storm of
Perfect storm.
bad.
I will say, afterwards, I did definitely drink and drive again. Intermittently, not advisable, but there came a point not long after where I completely stopped doing it. I don't know what happened. I was just thinking about something one day, and then another buddy of mine got pulled over. Oh, he was in grad school, and we were all going somewhere, and he got pulled over, and it would have screwed his career up. Like, he had some trajectory into Washington, D.C., and it would have ruined him. And then I got to thinking about my future, and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. Plus, at that point, Uber existed, so.
Oh, okay.
Yep, never again. Has nothing to do with the DUI though. It's all about self-preservation.
All right, Paul. Anything else you feel like you learned from that situation?
I learned that like everybody's case is different. I was told by family members, by friends, by my attorney, don't go looking up stuff on the internet about what happened. And I was like, why? Like, because you'll find the worst type of thing. I found after the whole thing was done, I went back and Googled like what happens to these people that get in trouble for laser pointers. And I found one guy that got 14 years in jail. And if I had seen that while like it was fresh in my head and I had just gotten arrested, I would have freaked out.
You're
So-
panicking.
Yeah. So you could get 14 years or you could get unsupervised probation. But it's just like, I think my criminal background had a lot to do with me being treated the way I was. Like,
Or your lack thereof, you mean?
yeah.
Sure.
Because I had nothing on. I had an infraction, right? Traffic guy.
Traffic guy. What does that mean?
That's funny.
All right, Paul. As soon as I heard Paul's story, I knew he'd be a perfect candidate to come to tell us about this laser thing.
Don't be
'cause
stupid. Like,
it's just, I don't know, man. Like,
Well,
I didn't feel like you should.
and it's common sense. Like, why was I pointing a laser pointer at a drone in the first place? It's stupid. Don't do stupid things.
Because
True.
you were just pointing your laser at stuff, dude. Whomst among us hasn't pointed a laser at something we shouldn't have?
Cast the first laser.
I want that laser, and I want to point it at stuff now.
I would definitely point that thing at stuff. I'm 38 years old. I don't care.
It was
just
cool.
guys
I'd walk
being
outside
dudes.
and dudes being bros. But the other thing, okay.
Don't talk to
So
cops.
It might
What
not
would you
hurt
have
him.
done in my situation?
It might not have hurt you in that situation, but
It-
it only could have hurt you.
it only could have hurt you because guess what? They would have had to prove who pointed the laser. If neither of you spoke to the cops and they find one laser in the car and there was one point that the helicopter says, hey, this laser was pointed at me for just a couple of seconds. It came from this vehicle. They follow you. They get into the vehicle. Let's say all the probable cause is there. But what they have is 2, 3, 4 people in the vehicle and one laser and know that it was shined one time. And everybody keeps their mouths shut. Guess what they have to prove? Who pointed it? And if they can't prove which one of you did it, then they can't prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Dismissal.
You did give them something, I guess.
You gave
by
them what they
saying that.
needed.
But at the same time, I wasn't
Sorry,
going to
it
be
makes
like,
me so angry.
I was like, it wasn't me, it was her. Like,
She did it. And if she points the finger at you, guess what? You both get out of trouble.
Okay. Like right then, or would have I had to go
No.
through
Well,
this whole
they
thing?
might have
I would
charged
have rather
both of
get
you.
this whole
They-
thing done.
They'd charge somebody. Well, I've seen cases where it's a similar fact pattern with different criminal activity, and they can't prove, so they don't charge it. You might get arrested. You'll get your initial appearance. You'll have another appearance date for an arraignment, and then at that point, the state will dismiss charges. I've seen it happen a dozen times.
There's no way that would have happened, or should it? I think you did the right thing, Paul, by taking the blame. For
I'm not
your
saying you
wife.
should blame it on your wife. That's not what I'm saying.
That's who he was with, though.
But
Yeah.
they don't have to say anything.
We didn't.
You can invoke
I
your
had
right,
no
and then
idea
they have
that-
no evidence. Right? The point is that they have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. If they have no evidence to suggest who actually did it, then the first element is not met. Points a laser.
But in his mind, he thought the cop's going to come and say, "Bro, that's a cool laser. Where'd you get it?" Instead of
He didn't
Nah,
say that.
I
Put
knew
me in
like
handcuffs.
I knew like, please don't play with things while you're driving.
you thought
Like,
you
that's
would
what
be
I
a
thought.
warning.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just a warning is what you
Because
expected.
at this point, I didn't know.
He did get a warning. The warning that means don't talk to cops.
Yeah, I didn't know the right to remain silent meant shut up. You don't have to say anything. I thought, like I was always taught, respect
F-U.
law enforcement.
Noob.
I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna.
And how expensive was that lesson? What did you have to pay your attorney, if you don't mind me asking?
It was $5,000,
We are charging way too little. What the heck?
That was
and
a
then
felony.
that was just for like the standard base. That's a misdemeanor. Because they upped it to a felony, I had to pay $2,500 more.
Yeah,
So-
we're definitely charging.
That
too
was
small.
an expensive lesson for
Yes.
you then.
And then $200 in courts fees, $25 to the donation something or
And the
another.
fear that you were going to get arrested,
And,
go
how,
to jail. Or
and
sorry,
how much did the laser cost that you lost out on?
I don't know, like $20.
And that too?
Yeah.
You lost your green laser? You know you can scare off geese with those? Like if geese are parked, you can laze them and they'll...
Laze them. Is that a verb? Laze?
It is.
We like to have fun here.
We do. All right, so you're
Thanks,
going to
Paul.
stick
Thanks
around.
for being here.
Of course. Well, what would you have done? I want to know your guys' take. Like, what would you
have really done,
I
or
would've
what
kept-
would you do in your mind after you
would've kept my mouth
analyze
shut.
this as an
You and
attorney?
your wife are in the same Chevy Aveo that just shined a laser.
Aveo, that's one of those little bitty four bangers that you can flip over.
It was fun.
I wouldn't have talked.
No.
I would have made him prove it.
Okay. But
At
then you
least-
get taken in.
That's fine.
All right.
You're gonna. Well, guess what? You're getting taken in anyway.
And you
Right.
did, right?
You did.
Yeah, I did.
And
had
you
to-
got
you had-
charged with a felony. So.
and you got charged with a felony. So I guess you beat me there. I've never been charged with a felony.
charged, but
I've
charges don't.
I've
don't
never
count.
been charged with a felony.
Charges don't count.
I've been detained, but never charged. You know why? Why I wasn't charged?
Because you didn't talk.
Because I kept my mouth shut.
Smart.
Smart.
These are some smart attorneys.
Hashtag smart.
It's you have to be
Please
respectful.
put hashtag smart on there.
You have to be respectful, but
Yes.
you can't give an inch.
Correct.
Where are you going? You know,
I don't answer questions.
I'm
apologize.
sorry. I'm not going to talk to you about that.
The easy answer is I don't discuss my day. I'm not discussing my day.
See, to me, in my ignorance, I would have thought that's disrespectful. You don't talk to people
You
like
can
that.
you can phrase it in any way you want. You
Right.
can be I'm sorry, sir, but I'm not going to discuss my day today.
Okay, that's fair.
And tone matters too.
Yeah, sure.
right?
You're not like I'm not discussing my day. You're like I apologize, sir. I'm not discussing my day.
Okay.
Keep a nice, level, even keel, even when they get upset, which they will.
Don't you want to help me out? Don't you want to help me
Don't you
solve
want to
this
help
problem?
yourself?
Ugh.
What are you? What you got something to hide, son?
See, I would have caved right there. Really.
I didn't do it.
I didn't do it.
Oh,
I was
it
probably
wasn't
going
my
like
wife,
4
it was
over the
me.
speed limit too.
It was me.
I
a yellow light.
apologize. One time my uncle gave me $45. I didn't report it on my tax return. Like, what the hell? Get out of here, man. Obviously, you did what you thought was right in the moment, and I can appreciate that. But, armchair quarterbacking it over here. And if you ever do shine a laser at something again, next time just be respectful and polite and refuse to answer questions because that's your right.
And then call Cox and Wilson.
Yeah. And then I'll do all the arguing with the cops for you because they don't intimidate me.
They do for me. So I'll leave it up to you.
Perfect.
All right, we got our next one. Speaking of Colorado, we talked about this a little bit before. Is it Platteville?
Platteville, yeah.
So you were west of Denver. Platteville is kind of northeast by Boulder.
Okay, yeah.
There's
Boulder's
a
more
case out of there. We're going to show you a video, which is just insane.
north. Sweet.
A girl gets arrested. She gets put in the back of the cop car. And then the cops, like they do, want to search the car. Okay?
It's called search incident to arrest.
So this girl is in the back of a police vehicle.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
There is a difference between searching the vehicle and sweeping the vehicle, is there not?
Correct. I'm guessing, I think I know what you're talking about. Sweeping a vehicle would be like a cursory inspection to make sure that there's no weapons in there. Like they're just looking around. They're not actually doing a proper search. They're basically looking the grab area to see if there's something in there that might hurt them.
Okay. So I just heard that one.
Officer safety is obviously one of the big exceptions that they kind of get some leeway on because the policy's there, right? We don't want officers to be putting themselves in situations that are dangerous. That's why we have Terry stops, where if the cops think that you're committing a crime, they can frisk you for weapons when they want to talk to you, right? But only under specific circumstances. The same thing is true.
Okay.
All right, Paul, we're going to show you this video of what happens when this girl's in the back of a police vehicle. Okay, you ready for this?
Yes.
We're going to put this on the podcast, of course.
Oh my gosh.
Ouch.
So this was back in 2022.
I have so many questions.
Gal gets put in the back of a police cruiser while they're searching her vehicle.
On the tracks.
The police officer had parked on train tracks that are still in use. And
Wait, was there no like little arm that comes down and says, "Hey,
here's
there's
a
a
still
locomotive coming"?
Here's a still picture. You have the railroad crossing signs, but there's no arms.
Sure.
But either way, you can clearly see the one there in the foreground and so both police vehicles, the one that the POV's from, and then the other one, the one that gets hit by the train, have a sign in front of them that say railroad crossing.
Oh, frick.
Additionally, trains, don't know if you know this, they have these things on them. They're called train horns. They're real loud. Real loud.
There was no audio on that, but I'm assuming.
Yeah, he was
Did it?
blaring his horn.
oh,
He was, okay.
He was. Yeah, I didn't do that for the purposes of this. This is, I guess, in your neck of the woods, right?
Yeah,
The max volume for a train horn is 110 decibels.
that's a lot.
I don't know
Standard fire
decibels.
alarm is 90.
Okay, so it's louder than a fire alarm by a decent margin.
So this case was in the news recently because, although it happened in 2022, lady did survive. We'll put that out there. She did survive. Obviously had injuries from getting hit by a train while in a car
She didn't die.
in handcuffs.
No.
Did not die.
Multiple fractures,
Did not die.
brain injury, obviously any brain injury is bad. I'm not saying that it's not, but it wasn't to the point that her brain was damaged, irreparably. I mean,
What was she being arrested for initially?
allegedly she'd pointed a gun at somebody.
That's not great.
Not a laser, but
Worse.
did a little more damage. She wasn't trying to laze somebody.
Yeah, she wasn't lasing a
malicious.
helicopter.
Willfully and maliciously
Yeah.
pointing a gun.
This was in the news recently because there were some criminal charges against the police for this.
Correct.
That they beat the charges.
They didn't, actually.
One of them beat the charges, and one of them didn't.
He beat some of the charges.
The driver or were there two?
There were a few cops in the vicinity, yeah.
Let's see.
But there was a civil case element where this lady sued the police force because she got injuries only because of what they did.
I can...
So the settlement came out this week is why this is coming to the news now.
So I looked up the sentences that they got, and it's Steinke, Stinke. Reckless endangerment and assault, both were misdemeanors. She was charged with attempt manslaughter, but was acquitted. She got 30 months of supervised probation and was required to complete 100 hours of community service. Vasquez, one count of reckless endangerment for parking on the tracks. He got 12 months of unsupervised probation, and the misdemeanor charge will be dismissed and the case sealed if he completes the term without incident.
12 months.
Yeah.
Question: was she fleeing, or was it a traffic stop and they caught her and said, "Hey, we know you pointed a gun at somebody"?
I believe it was a traffic stop.
Wow. Wow.
I saw something that talked about the statement that Vasquez made at sentencing, and it was disgusting.
Oh, did he try to like pawn it off? Be like, I didn't know
No,
what
he
you're
just said
actually
something that wasn't super. Oh, yeah. So this is a quote from denver7.com. For most of my adult life, I served and protected the people of the state. On September 16th, 2022, I did just that. I did my job as a law enforcement officer and responded to protect the people of the state. Unfortunately, a sequence of events occurred and things happened right after another. That's all I have to say, Your Honor.
Just completely taking responsibility for almost ending this
Yeah.
lady's life.
Yeah.
Putting his job as a police officer
And the judge,
protecting people over this specific person.
the judge did say that it didn't just happen. You could have done better, quote, but that he thought Vasquez was taking responsibility because he was entering into a plea agreement.
Dang.
I don't
And
necessarily
then he
agree
just
with
got
that.
mistos there.
Yeah, one misto and
That's-
unsupervised
That's
probation.
what Paul got
What
for
happened to-
shining a laser.
Yeah. What happened to her?
two
Charges?
misdemeanors, and she got 30 months of supervised probation, which is still a long time for misdemeanors.
He's saying the girl in the car.
Yeah. yeah.
Let me look it up.
Yeah, we didn't look at that. But the civil case, regardless, went forward afterwards and takes a while. So they had just settled for a little over $8 million.
8.5.
Dang.
So she,
TBI, numerous broken bones. So she did get a substantial.
there's no way she's getting that 8 because the attorneys are taking a percentage. She's got to pay back medical bills with that. So,
I read that the attorneys had $1 million in costs.
ooh,
But her gun charge, like, what happened to that?
I'm gonna
Does
go
she
out on
still
a
get
limb
charged?
and say that she probably didn't get charged for that.
we don't know.
I don't know.
Can't say either. Way.
Sorry, Paul. We'll do more research for you.
Oh, I was just
You're
curious
like the
because,
internet
like,
trolls.
is it that sort of
Okay,
like
broken,
deal? Like,
broken ribs, broken leg, broken back, as well as the brain injury.
And those things are serious, you'd think?
Yeah, every single one of those is pretty serious. I mean, obviously, not all broken backs are the same, right?
True.
You can have a broken back like Brandon over at Recon Arms, where you end up with a wheelchair,
Yes.
or you can have a broken back like we had a guy during rugby one time. He took a tackle weird and he had some trouble walking off the field, and it turns out he fractured 2 of his vertebrae. But he's completely fine now.
Oh, cool.
Like, he would never, like, you'd see him, he'd walk in the room, you'd have no idea. So it's not all the same. So I'm gonna say that probably getting hit by a train, you're on the more damaged side of that.
Sheesh.
Well, we only got about 15 minutes left. Justin,
Okay.
do you want to talk about that case you wanted to mention?
Yes.
We got a lot of good feedback for one of our cases that we got
You see
dismissed.
that? Austin has pulled up right here a $200 laser pointer. It looks like a lightsaber.
That's pretty wild.
That's way cooler.
Can you
than
get
mine.
Tangled Rights put on it?
Probably, but it's a handheld burning laser.
Oh,
I'm sure if you left it.
I know that
On
there's
something.
lasers.
It's
you
the
can-
most powerful handheld laser in the world. Now imagine the damage you could do to the helicopter with that one.
What?
Probably be good.
Let's not. So I had a client who was one of the track clients, and for those of you who haven't heard our prior stories, track clients are clients that are assigned to me because they're conflicted from the public defender's office, whether it be because the public defender represents a victim in that case or that there's multiple defendants, whatever. She was previously sentenced to the Nevada Department of Corrections in April of 2020 due to a guilty plea agreement. A complaint was then filed in September of 2020 in the case that I represented her on. Count 1, burglary. Count 2, grand larceny, property value less than $3,500. And count 3, conspiracy to commit a non-felony crime. They issued an arrest warrant November 4th of 2020. Keeping in mind that she was still in the Nevada Department of Corrections, property of the state of Nevada, who just issued an arrest warrant for her and knew exactly where she was.
Was she on a work release program? You
No,
know?
she was in prison until October of 2023. She was arraigned the day that she gets out. She goes to get to leave prison, and then they just take her down to CCDC because she's thinking, oh, I'm going to get my life back on track, whatever. And
Turns out she committed a crime while in prison.
no, the crime predated prison. The state just didn't do anything about it. Well, it turns out that a person's right to a speedy trial can be violated in these instances, and that's exactly what happened here. So the problem that I ran into, and this was the same thing as the Boulder City issue, is that in talking to the prosecution, I said, hey, you have a speedy trial right issue here. And the prosecutor absolutely agreed with me, but he wouldn't just dismiss it. He said, and I'm trying to remember exactly what he said. It flabbergasted me. And
I
I
think
was
I
also,
was there. He said, hey, there's certain things I have to do. So
right. He didn't want to set a precedent. Didn't he say something like that?
Something like that, where I have people to answer to.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, your job, according to the Supreme Court of the United States, is to do justice, right? And when you violated the person's speedy trial right, you know it's going to get dismissed. Why are you making me do this? So I ended up having to file a motion that went unopposed, but I found the standard, and it's whether the delay was uncommonly long, whether the government is more to blame for the delay, and whether in due course the defendant asserted his right to a speedy trial, and whether there's prejudice. It's Doggett versus United States, 505 U.S. 647. So in this instance, obviously, because it took so long, it's presumptively prejudicial, right? It's more than a year. Evidence has gotten stale at that point. The prosecution was completely responsible for the delay, and she did assert her speedy trial right. So the judge automatically dismissed it. It's just another instance where it's kind of frustrating because you have these conversations with people, and it's like, hey, man, we both know where this is going to go. But he's like, I can't just roll over on these things for whatever reason, which I don't understand. It seems like it would be more efficient for them where, it's not like we were pointing fingers at the guy saying, hey, you're an idiot, stupid prosecutor. Why'd you do this? It's just like, hey, you violated this. We're going to win. Why are you wasting our time or yours? Whereas he has the option to just dismiss, and he didn't do it. It was pretty frustrating, but the client was obviously very happy. She had transferred to me from another attorney, so she actually knew more about her case than I did initially because I had never seen it. When it finally got to me, obviously she's been dealing with it and I hadn't. But we got our case dismissed. I mean, obviously we knew what was gonna occur, but it was just frustrating because we even had to jump through all those hoops.
What a pain.
It was a pain. And you were there for the prosecutor. I was like, it's like, what do you mean you can't just dismiss it? I don't want to set a bad precedent. The precedent of what? Following the Constitution?
They have to answer to their bosses as to, how many convictions are you getting? What?
I never had that problem.
Well, you were your own boss.
No, I was good at trial.
Yeah, that's true.
And I also dismissed, but I had authority from the DA at my last prosecutor job to dismiss cases that were constitutionally bogus.
Because
Partly
it's better to teach the cops, hey, next time, don't do this. Let's fix this.
and partly because I showed him early on that I understood the Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendments and the nuances and inner workings and like the different things that can occur with factual differences, and he believed me, right? So I don't know. I think it'd be better to empower the prosecutors beneath me if I was a team chief or something like that to make some of those calls, or at least come to me and say, hey, this defense attorney's asking if we'll just dismiss it. This is what I think, and take a look at it. And if they're right, then just dismiss it. Save yourself the time, save yourself the money, save the court the time and the money. It's called judicial efficiency. Look it up. Yeah, so that's what I would do.
Man. All right, let's jump to our next one just because I love Justin Timberlake.
Crimea River.
No.
Man. Crimea River.
JT.
And
You know my favorite Justin Timberlake thing? Alpha Dog.
what is that?
It's a movie,
That's a deep cut.
and he's awesome. And it's a true story about some kids in Southern California that were selling weed and killing kids. Seriously, Alpha Dog, look it up. It's a great movie. It's fantastic.
I like In Time. I remember that one.
I don't know what that one is. but-
And
No.
he started Napster too, right?
Who?
In the Facebook movie.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
He got arrested for DWI in the state of New York. DWI is called driving while intoxicated. Here in Nevada, we call all kind of driving while intoxicated, we call them DUI. In some states, DUI and DWI can mean different things. In New York, where he was arrested, DWI means the same thing as what we call DUI here. It's basically being under the influence of alcohol,
Above
any
0.08.
drugs, and if you're driving, you get arrested. So Justin Timberlake this week got arrested. Obviously, we'll have the best legal counsel available to him in New York. He will leave no stone unturned on that. And he wants to go to his global tour that he has planned right now, too. So
My
Justin,
understanding that the cop didn't know who he was.
that's what came out is the cop had no idea who he was, and Justin
This
said,
is gonna ruin the tour. He's
this
like,
is
"What
going to
tour?"
ruin the tour. What tour? It's like, is that all
I mean, but also who
he
cares?
thinks about? Don't drive drunk.
There's an idea.
Don't talk to cops. Don't represent yourself.
Represent yourself.
Justin.
How does a typical DUI case go, Justin, here in Nevada?
So the person will get pulled over for whatever. The police will wait. Do you want me to start from there? Or do you want me to start from like the proceedings?
I think we only have so much time left. And
Okay.
we have a listener question
Okay, well, how much
still.
time do we have left? 5 minutes? Okay. Okay, perfect. So you'll get arrested, and you will either consent to a blood draw or they'll get a warrant for a blood draw. They'll get the blood draw back after a period of time. Typically, you'll have your initial arraignment set before they get the blood draw. So then the prosecution will ask for a continuance, which they will get. They have a statute of limitations. They have 1 year from the date of the arrest to file a complaint. The labs that do the blood work are sometimes backed up. So it'll be, so I've had a couple of them where we've had 2 continuances, so an extra 120 days.
It's been a while on some recently, but
Yeah. But they usually come back. I haven't had any.
they come
personally.
back after those
after a period of time.
maybe 4 months. Yeah. even.
But then there are others, like the DUI death case with the RTC bus, where they put a stat order on it.
Right.
Because they think it's DUI death for like a high profile case. And they got that one back within weeks.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing what that is just the state spends the money. Anyway, so then the blood draw will come back, and then you'll assess your evidentiary issues, and you'll either set it for trial. If it's a regular DUI, it'll be a bench trial. Or if it's a felony, it'll be a jury trial. And from there, you follow the standard criminal procedure, motions, hearings, things of that nature. So
I thought you always had a right to a jury.
no,
Oh, darn.
only with misdemeanors that involve constitutional deprivations, things like your battery, domestic violence. But that's only been a recent change here in the state of Nevada. And the idea is that because you're losing your Second Amendment rights and a couple of other things, that you should then not just be subject to a bench trial. And a bench trial is when it's just a judge and not a jury. And felonies, it's always juries. Well, I mean, you can waive the jury trial right, but not many people do it. They do it in specific instances. Samft just had that murder trial not that long ago where he did that. And
right.
it's,
He waived the right.
waived the right for a tactical reason. And so it follows the same trajectory: initial arraignment, and then motions and trial. So
So what's likely to happen to my boy JT?
I don't know. It'd be impossible to tell. The classic answer, it depends.
Oh,
Let's say what if he's under the limit? What if he's a .07?
his eyes looked red in his photo. We'll put it
He's
up.
been crying a river, dude.
He
That was
had.
that was a hard photo, dude. Like just like the lights are perfect. Just
He was doing like the let's see,
you could
mug
arrest me?
shot. What was it like? He was doing Latiga or
Magnum.
something. I think that looks fine there. It's fine. It's normal.
He's a beautiful man.
but the lighting.
I mean, the lighting is
I don't know what
great.
my mugshot looks like. Do I look as cool as JT?
Do you have it?
Never saw
We're
it.
gonna find it, baby.
All right, so let's go to our
at
listener
that.
question.
He's glistening.
It's a beautiful man. He makes a few more $1 million than me a year.
A few more.
Our listener question comes from my favorite listener.
I'm right here.
How do I get out of jury selection?
You don't.
Which I think is a bad question. We're not going to talk about that. Every jury I've ever had, and maybe you tell me your experience, says afterwards, I didn't want to be on this jury, but I can't be happier that I was on the jury
Yeah.
because I learned so much and it was just an awesome experience.
Not everybody has said that they didn't want to be on it, but a lot of people have said that same sort of thing to me. You know, I didn't really want to be here, but this was a lot of fun. The way that jurors get struck initially is a couple of things. One that I've seen over and over in larger jury veneers, and a jury veneer is the pool of jurors that you're going to collect your actual jury from. You're going to whittle it down to 14 from 120 or however many show up. It's people that let's say you get called for jury duty on a Monday, but you're leaving on Wednesday for a trip, or you have a surgery scheduled on Wednesday and it's going to be a 5-day trial. Obviously, you can't
Right.
be held as a juror in that instance because you have an obligation and they're not going to ruin your life for it. Or there's preemptory challenges for cause. And what that means is, let's say you see somebody who's, one of the questions that I would ask when I was a prosecutor was, is anybody here a member of Posse Comitatus or an anti-government group that just doesn't believes in anarchy? That sort of thing will get you thrown out, or having some other like inherent bias.
I had a sad one time where we had a jury trial on a motorcycle accident case. And we were talking about injuries to a guy on a motorcycle, and one of the potential jury members' husbands had just died in a motorcycle crash.
Oh my gosh.
And in that instance, they're going to let her out.
Can you imagine being called to jury duty
And
for
that's
a
what you get.
motorcycle crash after your husband just died in a
No.
motorcycle crash? Oh my gosh.
One thing before I forget it, that a judge said whenever I was prosecuting that I really liked, was Judge Cullens out of the 14th District in Kansas. He would talk to the jurors and say that what a privilege it was and how much he thanked them for being there. Not in the classic, oh, you know, it's your time, but he framed it in a way that I thought was really interesting. There's only 2 times in the Constitution the government calls on you to serve. Military, if you're drafted, and for jury duty. There's nothing else where the government's like, hey, come here and do this thing. And I thought that was pretty interesting, and kind of a neat way to look at it is you are upholding the Constitution and doing a duty that is pretty unique. I think that's
out
kind
of
of
jury
cool.
duty a few times.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Because they ask it.
I'm a
you-
felon.
No, I say like I'm the sole provider for my family. I can't be away from my family for this amount of time.
Sure, so you had like a reason.
Sure.
Okay.
Just leave.
We have good employers. The casinos will actually pay people to be on juries and
Yeah.
a lot of the government jobs. So we
Like their
will
full
get-
salary, they'll pay it.
My understanding, yes. Obviously it'll be dependent, but
Right, it's job dependent.
what
They
from what
can't
we've
fire
seen,
you for it.
Yeah.
You get a jury summons that you get to take to your work. I've seen that happen for people with jobs from. I mean, I've had jurors that were attorneys. The federal civil trial that I did, our foreman was actually an AG that was in civil division, which I thought was brilliant for the defense. I thought they were going to strike her and they didn't. It was awesome. I was glad she was there.
All right. I think we're out of time. We want to thank Paul for being with us. Paul KRA. Check out his page. And thanks, Carrie Maxey.
Yeah,
Maxey
Carrie,
for judge in
you're
November.
the best.
We were with her when we found out that we got these in court this morning, and
It was quite funny
it was just a surprise. She
because we
was
thought it was
sitting-
Austin, but it turns out it was Carrie.
She was sitting
was
right
nice.
in between us, and
She's got
was
my vote.
showing Justin, "Hey, Justin, look at these cups we got," and she said, "Those are for me."
This is brilliant. Where do you even order a customized?
I don't know.
It says Amazon on the packaging.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can get custom stuff on Amazon.
Made in China.
There you go.
Tangled
Nice.
Rights. Hire Cox and Wilson. subscribe to Paul Craw.
Thanks,
and
gents.
subscribe to Tangled Rights. Please like, comment, tell us what you want to hear. We'd love to have a bigger pool of audience questions. There's a couple hundred of you now, at least, that are listening to us. So 500, sorry. Please give us some ideas. What do you want to see?
Updoot.